I want to welcome everybody to Writers and Books. This is Rochester's home for the literary arts, so thank you for coming out tonight. We also have our independent bookstore on the first floor called Ampersand Books. Should you need books purchased, we would love if you bought them through us. And on to our main event, we'd like to welcome Ellen Driscoll to Writers and Books, back to Writers and Books. One of two artists in residence in this season's exhibition downstairs. And I'm going to read a brief bio on Ellen and then hand it over to her to do her presentation. Ellen Driscoll's work encompasses sculpture, drawing, and public art installation. Recent large-scale installations include Site Woven from the Charles R. Jonas Federal Courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina, Cartography for Middle College High School and International High School in Queens, New York, Bower at Art Park in Lewiston, New York, with Joyce Wang and Matt Hume, and Night to Day Here and Away with Sarasota National Cemetery. She has been awarded fellowships from the Guggenheim Foundation, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Bunting Institute at Harvard University, the New York Foundation for the Arts, and Anonymous Was a Woman, and is the recipient of a Fine Arts Award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters. Her work is included in major public and private collections, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Whitney Museum of Art. She is a professor of sculpture at Bard College and the 2018 recipient of the Outstanding Educator Award from the International Sculpture Center. Welcome, Ellen Driscoll.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. And I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is actually read from some writing that I've done. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for this opportunity at the wonderful Writers and Books Epicenter, which is a nerve center like no other. Thank you, Kathy Engel, for your open-ended invitation to work together, Destination Unknown, in January of 2021. This has been an amazing journey with you, Kathy. Thank you, Uta Zimmerman, for putting together the digital version of Eyechart, which is on both of our websites. A great thanks to Joanne McFarland, who wrote a beautiful essay for the Eyechart book, which is here. And she wrote it on short notice and with characteristic eloquence. And thank you to Stephen Manning, Joanne McFarland, and Sue Gozen, all of whom encouraged me to try a time-based digital version of the text and image combination that they saw 1 year ago. Thank you to the wonderful people at Writers and Books who are helping Eyechart to come alive here in Rochester: Allison Myers, Chris Fanning, Annalisa Barron, Dan Hurd, and all the other supporters of Writers and Books. I'm going to start by giving a very short backdrop to the images in Eyechart. I've been drawing with walnut ink for about 15 years now, and I like to say that Victor Hugo taught me everything I know about this. He did astonishing drawings, especially when in exile on the island of Guernsey. Beautiful drawings in a huge range. I look at them and I think, I wish I had thought of that. But in 2015, the scale and the range got bigger and more complicated. I began drawing plants known as volunteers, which is what you see here, thriving in the margins of Red Hook, Brooklyn. The plants stood in for me for the resilience of a community that was underwater in Hurricane Sandy and slowly came back. Next slide, Chris. I then went on to draw plants that had traveled in from other places. This is a detail of that first drawing from Red Hook. This one, if you look at the next slide, which is a close-up, has the continents of the world coming down from the drawing on the left-hand side. But the detail, next slide, is just a volunteer plant growing wild in the empty lots of Red Hook, Brooklyn. Next slide. The plants stood in for me for the resilience of a community that was underwater in Hurricane Sandy. Next slide. And slowly came back. After that, I went on to draw plants that had traveled in from other places and took tenacious root in the first summer of immigration and migration. I was in Italy at the time, and people were coming in boats from North Africa and Afghanistan and other places. In this last one, this is a drawing of a plant that's used to remediate toxic chemicals in strip mines, part of a series of plant drawings that are almost alchemically transformative in the work of remediation that they do. The technique is a wash of walnut ink, and then I paint into it with water to create a ghost image. I'm interested in the sense of wet flow. You can see the ink spills and the brown color, which might also indicate drought. The ink holds paradox and contradiction, a wet flow and a dry drought. Next slide. In 2020 and in 2021, I was in an extended recovery from a brain tumor that I was diagnosed with in 2018. I started simply looking at myself in the mirror and drawing what I saw. The surgery to remove the brain tumor left me with double vision, which even with surgery can only be completely eliminated with an eye patch. So I started incorporating the diminishing, disappearing graphic of the classic eye chart because it so aptly expressed my efforts to navigate with unstable vision. I'm also dizzy when upright and moving. So the woven portraits in which I disappear into an oil refinery similarly encapsulate the fracturing and dissolving that I felt, especially in that first year, as I learned how to walk, how to eat, and how to see. Here I am disappearing into a glacier. The glacier photograph is by my friend Susan Fox Rogers. If you're interested in learning more about this series, Let a Splinter Swerve on my website has 7 audio recordings and a number of these portraits. This is where I was in the winter of 2021 when Kathy Engel contacted me with her generous and open-ended invitation to work together. We have a great mutual friend, Suchi Brampman, a great choreographer on the West Coast, who introduced us some years before, but we had only met once in person, Kathy and I. I contributed artwork to Ghost Fishing, an eco-justice poetry anthology that Kathy worked on. But I was sick with the brain tumor when that came out. So Kathy, beginning a sabbatical from her art and public policy job at NYU in 2021, made something close to a quote, cold call to invite me to work with her. Perfect timing. Terra Incognita was where I lived then. We could get lost together, and we did. This reads, Eye of Ice, Aphasia, Memory Melt, Speech Melt, Melting Eyes, Sinking Tongue, Atlas of Forgetting, Migraine, Floodline, Mark. We Zoomed every 10 days or 2 weeks, tossing words and images across a net. We absorbed all kinds of details about each other's lives and past histories. In Kathy's case, the more I learned, the more fascinated I was. Some of this will emerge as I talk about the poems. That summer, I decided to open up a sluice gate and start trying to draw in earnest. I vowed not to illustrate. The first poem I tackled dear inheritors I'll unpack in a bit. First, two poems that we were able to turn into outdoor banners at the Lieber collection out on Long Island, near where Kathy lives. They're up through December. Now go to the website, Chris, and click on it and go to Seahorse Tonka. Go through the book until you come to that. Okay, whoops. Oh. You want to listen to Kathy read that? To the next one. Okay, see the bottom? Yeah.
Seahorse Tenka. He carries the eggs, body twice curved, salted. He dips water, mates for life, 4 to 6 years to court, tails entwine. To mourn, wait.
Fun facts about this short poem in the Japanese tanka form. Kathy and her husband John started the Haygood School out where they live on Long Island. And at some point, there were seahorses in the classroom. These ancient, almost prehistoric creatures with their articulate exoskeleton. Who knew that they mate for life? In my image, the knot, oh, sorry, go back. The knot, which is animated by Uta Zimmerman, is from a rope that I tied and took outdoors to make a cyanotype sun print. I used this image for the very short program for my own wedding to Stephen Manning 3 years ago this week, with our closest family members in attendance, all wearing masks outdoors. The lens on the two seahorses is a magnification of salt crystals. When Uta Zimmerman did the digital version, she also did the animations. We were all very inspired by Joanne McFarland's new book called Pullman. Next one. The next banner at Lieber is "This beauty could lull me into forgetfulness." In this image, the round holes reveal wind currents, an image I've used elsewhere to indicate a larger space behind the picture plane of unknown dimension. And this one reads, "In the open, quiet, staring towards Fawn's big eyes, staring back, stopped still, I ask myself, can I be questioned? Surge of plant dust, yellow succulents, a zillion casts of green. Who is my enemy within, and what is our tango?" In the last frame, the bird stands in for the speaker. Oh, go back, sorry, Chris, right there. No, that one, there's the bird. The bird stands in for the speaker in a locked gaze that sends us out of the frame. The question, what is our tango, indicates a kind of tight lockstep disturbance. And this question is left unanswered. Next one. Actually, I want you to skip to horse. Yeah, just go ahead to horse. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Horse. One of the wow factors of Kathy's past is that she attended the birth of and was very close to her own horse. Since my sister Kate and I could only get close to horses by shoveling their manure in exchange for free riding lessons every once in a while in New Hampshire, having your own horse and being a great rider is the stuff of dreams. My image in this case focuses on, quote, go to the next one, the night eye looking out. Oh, you horse, you shiny mahogany coat, and the chestnut on the inside of your leg, vestigial toe, of Eohippus, a fingerprint. Night eye looking out, cave wall drawing, still. So my eye focuses on the night eye looking out, and the upside down images refer to the inversion that occurs inside of a camera obscura and inside of our own eyes as light rays do not bend, but make an X-shaped cross as they pass through an aperture, thereby reversing the image. That's the diagram of the eye right there with the upside down horse. Okay, now, Chris, let's go to Dear Inheritors. Oop, there we go. Okay, Dear Inheritors, this is addressed to those who come next after us. And there is, in the first image, in Uta's animation, the snail appears around the branch and the kind of, I was thinking of that sort of shape at the bottom as being the trail that the snail leaves behind as it moves. Okay, next slide. And this one says, Dear Bookend, Dear Crow and Tree, Dear Stutter, Rupture, Rapture, Hole in the Eye, Remembering, Dear Fingernails, Searching, Scratching Boat Railing, Childhood Ending, Dear Buffalo, Whale, Human and Snail, Dear Worn Out Adjective, Nameless Year and Month, Dear Welcome. So here, this is addressed to those who come next, as I said, after us. The crow here is in a mirrored double image on a, quote, stutter line. The crow looks forward and is seemingly reflected upside down, implying water and ether and atmosphere. Dear Fingernail, Scratching Boat Railing, Childhood Ending, Dear Buffalo, Whale, Human. There's telescopic space in this list. The microscopic detail of the fingernail surrounded by water. The buffalo and whale are land and water archetypes, evoking large scale and deep time. And then we are brought back down to the micro scale by the snail and by the fingernail also. We go back to an ether without time, nameless year and month, and are brought back in with Dear Welcome. Next page. In the next page, we are lost together, familiar markers gone. The image of a melting glacier, we know it's happening because of us out there. Next page. We embrace this terra incognita. This says, death has no reason. Stars can't be captured. If it's a flag, let's strip the borders and call it moving through together. So in this page, we are lost together, and we are in terra incognita. Stars can't be captured. And on my image are the image of a diagram of the wind currents over the Atlantic Ocean. Next page. Here again, the telescope moves down in again. Oops, I think we skipped a page, Chris. Go back. No, go ahead. An imaginary loom awaits me with rough hands I weave, silk and burlap strands stalk an unmade heaven right here. So here we're bringing rough and smooth together in a single matrix, a single weave. The image on the left is from an old French diagram of water divination on land. Divining with two sticks held between the fingers, sensing the moving elixir beyond the threshold of vision. And again, like an earlier part of the poem, a sense of welcome of invitation, of an unmade heaven right here. Next. Here we have two ferns woven together, a plant as old and archetypal as the whale and the buffalo, signifying deep time in the plant community. And here, mistakes are transformed into luminous victory. The weaving again refers to my own vision. It's doubling and flickering, which can be quite beautiful. Next page. The X here is like a road sign cut out in a circle, implying rotation and change. And the wind currents again, signifying a larger movement, a larger space beyond the edges of the picture plane. Next page. In this image, the animation of the buffalo appearing, walking across a horizon line in which the thumbprint is a world, a landscape, the scale of the imagined map of the imaginary we set against the dissonance of fitful micro movements, flails, grasps, and gasps, like the scratching fingernail earlier in the poem. Final page. This, just this, these ears reborn each dawn out of sleep's restless tunnel, these still strong arms, can't see the final word, even from, yes, okay, next page. And this, these eyes learning such beauty in dead things, surprise in the living. And again, that woven image, which creates a kind of a flickering and a sense of an inextricable matrix, that things cannot be separated, they cannot be pulled apart. They exist in a kind of inextricable fabric with each other. Next one. And this final one, the animation of the divining rod on the hand, and the crow, the bird, which is for me almost like an image of a messenger. Okay, the final one, Chris. Nope. Go to when the body, there we go. And in this one, fingerprint, moon, planet, bird, wind currents, and then go to the next page and we'll listen to Kathy read it.
When the body abandons the spirit with whom it partnered, even when sparring, even when unaligned or dislocated, even as sight scorches the lie of time, or even when the severing is slow. What, beloved, unfaithful evening? What if the mind still stirs 1,000 wild ways, racketing against the softening of cartilage? What then?
So I want to point out in that final poem what I have kind of identified as signature elements of all of this work. Again, I'll just list fingerprint, moon, planet, bird, wind currents, and then what I would consider to be like a signature dissonance, the word racketing, and a sense of larger atmosphere, the quote, beloved, unfaithful evening, the tiny, the cartilage, and the huge, 1,000 wild ways. Thank you. Special thanks to Kathy. Yeah. And to everyone here.
So thank you all for coming.
Yes.
I think should we go down to the gallery?
Sure.
Go and talk down
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
And we will say adieu to all of you on Zoom. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on Zoom, everybody.
Yes, we'll be back the first Friday in November with
Kathy.
poetry reading with Kathy, the other
Yes.
side of this coin. So please join us for that.
Yes. Oh, I should have mentioned the book, but I didn't.
Oh, still got the chance.
No, it's on, oh,
It's still on.
okay. So, I'm not looking at the camera. Okay. So we have a physical copy of Eyechart. And if you send an email to either Ellen or Kathy, or if you come to Writers and Books in Rochester, we have them here. So, and in it is the physical Joanne McFarland essay, which is really amazing. Yeah. So thank you, everyone.